Good afternoon and happy new year. We are recording on January 1st. Gonna have to get used to saying this, 2025. Hard to believe we're in 2025 already, but we are January 1st, and this is the first episode of Wanderings and Wool Gathering for the new year. And it's not a typical numbered show. This one is a special sleep token bracketology battle to determine the best song, or I shouldn't say best song because everybody's best song is different, but our favorite songs. And it took 46 days, a very huge bracket because we did all songs from every album, plus the singles that came out prior to the albums. And we had some great battles, and we were live on a fan page, and we had the battles there daily, and it was intense and lots of votes. It was a lot of fun. So we will share those battles as well as our own that we did behind the scenes. But I don't do this alone. Joining me is T-Bags.
Hey, what's up, Stevie?
How much? We have to get into this so quickly. I didn't even have time for a theme song today.
I know. It's too bad because my theme song is pretty rad.
I mean, if you really want to hear, if somebody would just ask for it, I would be more than happy to play
it. Yeah, well, tune in next time, right? And they'll hear it.
I might just put the Joe right.
I think I might have lost Stevie. Let me send him a quick text. I'm not sure if I'm still being recorded, but just letting him know that we lost him.
There we go. Technical difficulty. I apologize for that.
Yeah.
I swiped right and swiped me right off the screen. Oops.
Yeah.
That was an accident.
I was texting you, so yeah. Before we get started, wanted to say, I'm a big Saints fan and all that. Wear my new Louisiana hat, but obviously, thoughts and prayers to everybody with the tragedy in New Orleans last night. So
yeah,
that's too bad.
I know. It just seems like every day you wake up to some new tragedy, somebody taking people's lives, or it's a lot. And I know our friend Michael Ceravolo just posted about it. He's from New Orleans, and hit him pretty hard.
Yeah, that's my wife and I were talking earlier that just don't understand it, why people have to do that, and not to start off on such a somber note, but we're sitting here talking about Sleep Token, and it kind of reminded me of when we went to Chicago to see them and all the walks of life of people that just go in and enjoy, centered around one thing and enjoy. And, we had that impromptu mosh pit breakout next to us, but, people were helping people up, and I don't know. It's just weird music bringing all these people together. And then there's people out there that want to tear people apart. So anyway, just wanted to let people know that we're thinking about those people in New Orleans.
Yeah, absolute tragedy. And they've postponed the game for tonight, I think, which was a sensible move under the circumstances. They're going to play that tomorrow. So.
Okay. Yeah. But anyway, without further ado, I'm letting you lead this project because you started it, which I thought this was a really cool thing to do. I hated you along the way a couple of times.
So did everybody on the fan page. I guess jokingly people were cursing at me, but
it was early on. There were some battles that were like, man, I can't believe I have to pick between these two. But
day one, day one was a tough one for me. And just so you know, we probably could have done the bracket differently or randomized it. But this just really occurred because I sent Tony a text and said something like, Atlantic is their best song, Fight Me. Because I just got done listening to it and I loved it. And then we were like, well, would it really hold up? And so we came up with the idea of doing the bracket. I just took the albums in order, all songs in order. And then at the end, I tagged on the singles that came before, which made it kind of weird toward the end for a lot of people, because it ended up, depending on your bracket, you had Take Me Back to Eden versus When the Bow Breaks. And I think some people felt like, oh, that's a no-brainer. You know what I mean? And but that's just the way it worked out with the bracket. I look at it this way: your song has to beat every other song at some point.
Exactly.
So the order really doesn't matter. It just matters maybe on how far yours gets. So
no, I totally agree. And actually, for ease of use, like it was easy to go start the first song, listen to it, and then skip to the next one rather than having to go find them. So I liked how it was set up, but inevitably there were battles that were tough. So anyway, where do you want to start, Stevie?
Well, let's jump in first of all with the fan page, and the winner overwhelmingly. Now this is interesting. The final two in the fan page was Ascensionism versus Atlantic, and Ascensionism crushed Atlantic. I mean, it was probably an 800 vote difference, and the day before, Ascensionism battled Take Me Back to Eden, and that one had almost 2,000 votes, and the final total was within 100 votes.
Crazy.
So based on that, I think that the Sleep Token fan page, probably final two should have been Ascensionism and Take Me Back to Eden. That seemed to be the overwhelming favorites throughout this whole thing. And interestingly enough, I had Take Me Back to Eden get beat in the first round. So
yeah, I think it lost early for me too. I need to go back and look, but
I got yours right here. Well, here, let's just, I don't know what I'm doing here. Let's pull this up and say, yeah, you can really see that. That's the fan page one. And sorry, it's a little bit small. But so the first battle was Take Me Back to Eden versus Euclid. And I love Euclid. So that was brutal. That was one of the toughest ones for me. Yeah.
And that actually, going back to that first text you sent me when you said Atlantic is the best song, I was like, well, I don't think it can beat Euclid. We kind of had a little text battle there. But we'll get to the final round later on. But that's what made it tough is going in, Euclid was one of my favorite songs. So it was going to fly past a lot of those.
Yeah. And then I jokingly said something about the first battle, but The Night Does Not Belong to God versus The Offering was horrible for me. I love both of those songs. And also, I feel like I didn't ultimately choose The Night Does Not Belong to God, but it really climbed for me when we saw him in concert. Like opening the show with that is incredible. And being that these three albums are connected, I think it opened the three albums too. Yeah.
And that concert experience is super important because, like I have in my notes, that I really wanted Rain to go further. And I think a lot of that, when I ended up having to kind of vote it out, was basically because I was pitting it against other things. But I remember the visuals for Rain and how cool that was. Yeah, at the show.
Yeah, those, I don't know what it was a light show, but I guess they strung all the way down and the lights went down as if it was raining.
Yeah, I thought that was super cool. So, but
it would have gotten further, but it fell victim to the fact that it had to go against Take Me Back to Eden or Euclid.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So what, you were mostly on the fan page. I mean, what were you, did you have any like surprise first rounders? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but
no, I think the fan page was pretty straightforward. There were a couple that were different than mine, but it was nothing that was like, I think I had Gods over Give, which isn't a big deal. I had Take Aim instead of Higher. But for the most part, we were in step. And again, Take Me Back to Eden and Euclid, I had that. What was surprising for me is as we went along, which I thought the singles would definitely fall apart. Like I didn't think they held up as much as the other. People absolutely love the singles. And that came across. Thread the Needle, When the Bow Breaks, Calcutta. Lots of really good comments about those songs, and people really love them.
Yeah. And they got a buy, I noticed. So
yeah, because they came at the end and there was you ran out of having enough songs. I guess I could have had that as a play in prior to this.
No,
which
it
is
worked
probably what
out.
I should have done, but
I thought it was funny. I thought it was just because they were singles, they were getting the buy, getting a little effort there. But like you said, it was, it's they have their own legs. They were beloved. So
yeah. And out of that group, I love Jaws. The drums in Jaws are magnificent. So
I thought of you with that. Yeah.
yeah, that's my favorite of all of the singles.
Yeah.
But
I also wanted to say, I think you would agree. I don't think there was any song that I disliked. I mean, I know we listened to Sleep Token anyway, but there wasn't a case of like just looking through the list and being like, oh, I'm throwing this out. It's like, what a solid catalog they already have.
Yeah, no, that's very true. There's some that I don't care for nearly as much.
Sure.
And there's some that just hit you like a ton of bricks. But yeah, I agree. It's a solid discography from beginning to end. I cannot wait to see, we got the potential new music coming in the summer.
Yeah.
So kind of interested to see what that's going to be. But
yeah.
So the finals in this one, Atlantic beat The Offering to get into the finals, and Ascensionism beat Take Me Back to Eden to get into the finals. That was our big final four.
Yes. I'm not like shocked, but I didn't know that Ascensionism would make it that far. But it's cool to see a collective group of fans, be so surrounded or surround a song like that so much. But it didn't make it as far for me. So I think that's obviously what I'm judging it against. But
all right. Well, let's just look and see where old Tony knocked off Ascensionism.
I can't even remember, to be honest with you.
But holy moly. Did you knock it off early?
Yeah, I think second.
Yeah, round. You had the Apparition beating it.
Yes. And that was solely based on lyrics, I think. There was something about the Apparition that resonated a little bit more with me lyrically. But if you were to just put it music to music, I don't even know. I'd probably still be stuck here, to be honest.
I am shocked that you picked the Apparition over Chokehold. I thought Chokehold for you was going to be a Final Four-ish pick.
Yeah. Chokehold is, it's amazing, when it kicks in, especially. But I think I was just kind of attached to that to the lyrics and the idea behind Apparition. Then. And I think that kind of holds, me. So when lyrics stick with me, that kind of holds out. But where did it go out for you?
Ascensionism?
Ascensionism, yeah.
It went way, way far. It got knocked out. Oh. Did it not go? Okay. It got knocked off by Aqua Regia.
Yeah. I didn't realize Aqua Regia would make it so far for you.
I love that song. It's so quirky. It's just
yes.
I'll tell you what I love. So throughout the records, there are these themes that run through. Of course, in the second album, we've got the water theme and all that, but we have a lot of technology-based lyrics and a bunch of chemistry-based lyrics. And what I thought I liked the most about Aqua Regia was the idea that something that is corrosive and can destroy metal can also then shine and improve gold. So depending on your view or whatever, it can be a good thing or it can be a bad thing. Or in these circumstances of these relationships throughout these songs, there can be good and there can be bad. Maybe similar to Bloodsport, where you kind of get lost in the beauty of something when it's really not good for you. But those themes that run through, I love those. And so Aqua Regia, for that reason, I love lyrically, but then musically, the piano, the way he sings, the whole thing is just, it's a slam dunk for me. I love that.
Yeah. That whole thing, that reminds me of The Grudge by Tool, where, I don't know if you listen to that much, but it's talking about alchemy and it's talking about the waters turning lead and grudges into gold. And so that obviously is a love for me too. But I want to know how, I thought Missing Limbs would win out for you on that.
Missing Limbs climbed for me when we saw him in concert. It really hit home when he just stands out front and plays. Yeah. And that's a pretty heartbreaking song. Okay. The last verse of Missing Limbs reminds me of Pearl Jam's Black.
Yeah.
When he says,
Yep.
you know, you'll be a star in somebody else's sky, but I wish it was mine.
Mm-hmm.
This is the same thing, that this person he was with has chosen somebody else, and they're still missing limbs to him. And I love
Yes.
that idea of when you know people lose a limb, they have the sensation that it's still there. So
Yes.
there's the sensation that this person they were with is always with them, even though they're with somebody else. So I really liken Missing Limbs to Black in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I love his vocals on that song.
Yes.
It did make it to Aqua Regia. It just suffered too.
I know.
Having to go against Aqua Regia. So
I love that song too. I love that theme. I also think about that those phantom feelings are awesome, an awesome analogy. But I also think that like you're also not as capable anymore, you know, if you're missing something, and so like you feel it takes a piece of you, obviously, you know. So I liked all those themes too. Where did Missing Limbs climb very far in the fan page?
I think it made it 1. Let's see.
Did it? Okay.
Well, people really liked it. No. It made it. It beat High Water, then Descending, and then it lost to Alkaline. Which okay, Alkaline's a wonderful song, and it has some great lyrics too. So
yeah. This challenge made me fall in love with Alkaline again. Definitely not a song that I skipped, but it, you know me, I make playlists for work and stuff like that. So after hearing it again, it made another working playlist. So I'm glad we did this challenge. It's very cool.
Yeah, I think Alkaline kind of falls in that Aqua Regia back and forth. There's a lot of dualities that he sings about in there, which are really cool.
Yep.
Okay, so let's go to your final 4.
Okay.
All right, you had we had Dark Signs going really far. Versus Atlantic, and Missing Limbs versus Euclid.
Yes.
What was the toughest battle there for you? And then you can tell us your final.
Okay. Missing Limbs versus Euclid, just because I was kind of tuned into that whole kind of, I don't want to say sentimental feeling, but for, you know, I love their, you know, when they get into some electronic stuff, when they get into some almost rappy stuff, when they go hard, I love it. But for me in this challenge, it kept going back to that like sentimental kind of softer stuff. And Euclid, just coming into it, Euclid was my favorite song. So Missing Limbs was at a disadvantage in that way. But that one literally was just like, I don't know, if I had to give it like a score, it probably lost by 1/10 of a point, you know?
Yeah. I had Euclid going very far as well. I had that.
Was that in your final?
It was. It lost to Aqua Regia.
Oh, that's right.
I think Euclid sounds like it could be the last song in a huge musical production, like a Broadway play. You know, it has that vibe to it. Got the chorus going on back there. And I feel like it's a great sort of ending to this 3-album cycle where there is a little bit of a positive notion going forward.
Yes.
And one thing I really like about the song is the final verse where it goes back and forth. Like it all kind of fits together now. And it's just a cool song. I love it.
It is. And also I noticed, like, so they covered When the Party's Over by Billie Eilish. And in Euclid, there's a little bit of like Call Me When You Get a Chance is kind of done in that like vocoder type sound, and very like Phineas, who does the production for Billie, you know, her brother. And so I noticed, I don't know if there really is truly an influence there, but there's a little bit of Billie Eilish Phineas influence to me in that song. But I love that song. I just want to know so what was your deciding factor between that and Aqua Regia?
I don't know. I just think that Aqua Regia is so unique. And I think that's where it kind of took the advantage for me. It was kind of a toss up, honestly. Because I do love Euclid, and I really want to know like, so there's like two Euclids, right, that are famous. There's a mathematician and then there's a philosopher. I want to know where either one could work with him because of the chemistry and all the stuff that he talks about. I want to know where he came up with the title for that.
Yeah, me too.
And how that fits in there. I do love the callbacks in this song to like when the bow breaks, you know, he makes a comment there, and there's a lot about death in that song. So perhaps he's moved past that.
True.
Which I think is really cool. And then, of course, The Night Belongs to You, you know, which call back to the first song.
Yeah.
So I think it puts a neat bow on the whole experience.
I do too. So artistic. And especially in today's age where you can just throw out a couple of singles or something like that to see. I still love when bands will take the time to put those threads in there, and you know, it's such a good album.
I think somebody could write a master's thesis over the 3 albums and connect all of the elements as they shift through.
I agree.
You know, so what were your 2? My final 2 then? Atlantic beat The Offering. What did? You had Dark Signs. Why Dark Signs?
Well, and that wasn't my final 2. Missing Limbs and Euclid. I mean, Euclid.
I'm sorry, final 4. Sorry, the other 2 battle. So why Dark Signs?
I don't. You mean over higher? Because after that, it got beat out by Atlantic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just how did it get there? In the fan group, it lost in round 2 to The Offering.
Yeah, I don't really remember my answer on that one. That was kind of a back and forth. I have little notes, and that was kind of one of my tougher battles. And I think it was just at the time, it was just the one that I liked more. But I can't give you a good, interesting answer as to why, though.
Yeah, I think Dark Signs is unique in that it has a very different vibe musically.
Yeah,
slowed down. It's dark. It's heavy. I think that's where it kind of shines. I think lyrically, it fits in well with everything. I think had that losing to The Offering.
Dark Signs.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
And The Offering's just a great song. I mean, musically especially, but there is no way in hell it was going to beat Atlantic for me.
I know.
Hint, nothing beat Atlantic. That was my winner. I had Atlantic versus Aqua Regia, and that was ultimately my winning song.
So I had, and I want to get back to why that is with you, but I had, it's funny because it goes all the way back to our first text with this whole thing, which was, I was saying Euclid was better than Atlantic. And then about halfway through, I told you, I'm not sure, I'm not sure which one I like better. And Atlantic actually won out for me. It has become the song that is the go-to song for me when I want to get creative. If I'm driving at night, it's what I put on. It is just so beautiful. But you're the one that told me it was going to win. So what's your why do you love it so much?
So I didn't automatically just go into like work backwards from Atlantic to see.
For sure.
I actually dug into all the songs as we went, and I was really close with Euclid and Aqua Regia being my favorite. But there's something about Atlantic that just it just sticks.
Yep.
From that something terrible has happened, whether whoever the person is there has committed suicide or attempted to, or there's been some tragedy. But the idea of waking up and all of these people around who don't know your pain or don't understand, but they're there to help, but you're like pushing them off,
Yeah.
Break him into sand, I think he says. And then the music, it's beautiful piano. It's slow. His voice is tremendous. And then when it kicks in to the heavier verses, the drum patterns are insane and they are so good. And the tone from his snare is so cool. I just can't say enough about that song. I think it's really, in essence, a perfect song. And it also encapsulates a lot of what Sleep Token does well, which is the slower moments with the beautiful singing and then the heavy. And 2 does not get enough credit. I know he's starting to. He was on Drumeo one time, but his drumming is so varied and interesting.
Yes.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
So that's it in a nutshell. What is your reason why you came around to it?
Kind of similar. First of all, like I think everything is written probably from the heart, but when one,
Mhm.
like you said, some songs just stick. So I'm not comparing it to this in the sense of like I think they're the same song, but like "Hurt" stuck out on the Downward Spiral by Nine Inch Nails, and you just kind of like you were just right there in the same raw emotion with him, and it built up in a soft way to having this slam in kind of hard
Mhm.
sound. So there's some similarities there in structure and feeling, but I also like that I'm just a big fan of when it just everything seems to flow poetically, like
Mhm.
um not all of the words necessarily make sense to the average person who hasn't like dove into all of this, but it's Soundgarden would write a lot of things that the lyrics wouldn't seemingly make sense, but you just love
Right.
the song.
Yeah.
And there's just a feeling for this. There's a poetry, the singing, and the emotion. I think you're just really tuned into something that is really raw and true, and it's hard to ignore that,
Yeah. And speaking of the poetry,
Hmm.
the one verse that I just love. So obviously, this has a water element to the album, and then they've got those codes that are the depths and everything. So this is our depth starting to sink, and then we sink all the way to Missing Limbs at the end.
Hmm.
Uh, but I love merry in the morning, not marry as in to marry someone, but happy in the morning, earn your bitter fodder. It's
Yeah.
easier to try not to eat. Like this person is so foul and bitter and upset and angry. And then, but
Yes.
there's a respite. Flood me like Atlantic, bandage up the trenches, which again, the trenches of the ocean. There's a link there. Also, the pain and the tragedy that he's incurred being the trenches. Anything to get me to sleep. Like that's the respite. And of course, the link back to sleep in his
Yes.
worshiping of sleep. I just think that's such a great verse in this song.
Yeah, I do too. I agree with that 100%.
Mhm.
But it also, going back to the poetry of it all, it's even just the opening line. Call me when they bury bodies underwater. It's blue light over murder for me.
Mhm.
Like I'm hooked immediately, and
Mhm.
especially how it's sung, the music, everything's perfect. I do think this is a perfect song.
Yeah. That's fun that
So,
we did this separately. And for those of you out there, we did not do this together, so we'd come to this conclusion. Tony
nope.
was behind and didn't even fill this out until it was already filled out by me. So we
Yep.
did this completely separately, and we
Mhm.
completely did it separate from the fan page group, which clearly that group loved Atlantic as well because they got to the final two for them
Yeah.
as well.
I know. I wish we were interacting with them right now. I know that there's a link still kind of waiting to be moderated, but I would love to know the thoughts behind Atlantic versus Ascensionism.
Yeah, I bet I'll post this after we're done. Maybe we can get some people to comment
Okay.
on their thoughts. Ascensionism, according to a lot of the responses on there, was just that it's a perfect song for people, and it does offer a
Yeah.
lot of what Sleep Token is good at, just like Take Me Back to Eden does. There's like all of those little elements: the soft, the hard, um,
Hmm.
that catchy, almost R&B sound they have sometimes, and
Yep.
I don't know. They are a unique group, and
They
just so
are.
everybody knows, like we have not been Sleep Token fans since 2018. We reviewed Take Me Back to Eden when it came out last year. That was my first time ever listening to Sleep Token. Metalhead said, "Hey, you want to do this when they wear masks?" And of course, me and masks. I was like, "I'm in. Let's do it."
Yeah.
And then I just could not stop listening. There was something the first couple times is like, this is just a little bit weird. Like Aqua Regia to me at the beginning was like, this is just strange. But it was
Yeah.
like so hypnotic. It was like I gotta keep listening, and eventually you kind of get it. I think.
Yeah, totally. And I was a fan a little bit later than you because you were telling me like what you liked, and honestly, I was a casual fan. There were some songs I
Mhm.
loved, and then I didn't really dig into all of the concepts and things like that. But then I started listening to them a little more heavily when we were going to see them in Chicago. And then after seeing them in Chicago, 100% sold. Their live show is so freaking good. And yeah, so you're right. We're not like, we can't claim to be those OG fans from the start, but we definitely are hooked now. So,
We're in it.
yes. Yeah.
All right. Any last comments? I will say this was fun. This was a long journey. I got up every morning and I was excited to do it. And a lot of the people on the fan page said they were excited to see which songs would be on the poll that day. And they were very excited too. So I'm glad that everybody enjoyed. It got a little heated at times for some people, but I think everybody enjoyed the process of going through it. And Tony and I have actually talked about maybe doing a Tool bracket next. So
I would love that. Yeah. So I think it's a great thing. I'm glad so many people participated. It's fun to see that happen. And no real final thoughts that are different from the fact that I just think that's just such a solid band. It's such a solid catalog already. I can't wait to see what they add to this. And like I said earlier, like I really want to understand what Ascensionism has over Atlantic from the fans' point of view. So hopefully we can get some responses on that.
Yeah, I'll even ask it in the group and just see what people think. And some of them made some interesting comments too. It's like right now this is my favorite, but when I was going through this earlier, this was my favorite.
Yes,
they get very connected to the songs.
For sure. Oh, I did want to mention these were my top 4 battles, toughest battles for me. Take Me Back to Eden versus Euclid was one.
Same for me.
Fall for Me versus Alkaline was tough. Missing Limbs versus The Apparition. And obviously the last final round, Atlantic versus Euclid.
Wow.
Did you have any that stood out before we sign off?
Aqua Regia and Euclid were brutal. Take Me Back to Eden and Euclid. Those are 2 songs I absolutely love. And then they had to, and I'll say the first, The Night Does Not Belong to God versus The Offering was awful. I went back and forth. I typed it in a couple of times. I highlighted it and unhighlighted it a few times because those were tough. I thought Levitate and Dark Signs was tough. And I thought Higher and Take Aim. So to start this off was awful because every one was tough.
I think what's funny is, really that emotional reaction was like, I felt bad sometimes. Like on our bracket, I would do the strike through on the ones that lost and put them in gray. And it was sad moments for me at certain times. Like I couldn't really push that button on the strike through, but we had to get it done. So
yeah. And you know what? I love Ascensionism, but it was not hard for me to pick Aqua Regia over it.
Yeah, I hear you. Atlantic just grew and grew and grew for me. It was an amazing process throughout this whole thing. So I'm so stoked. I'll listen to Atlantic today. I probably listen to it once a day at least.
I already listened to that. Euclid, Aqua Regia earlier just to make sure that I had the right order and I was on point.
Okay, yeah. And last point to make, you were talking about how we did this separately. Until you and I just told each other who won, we did not know.
Nope.
Yeah, we weren't texting about it and we weren't putting it in our bracket. So genuine reactions to that. So
all right. Before we get off, being that this is January 1st and we'll be starting off a new year, just wanted to throw out there that these bands are rumored or have confirmed a new release in 2025. These are likely some bands that we will be covering. We have bands like Korn, Ginger, the Deftones, Killswitch Engage, Nine Inch Nails, ding, 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 Tony, Nine Inch Nails, Disturbed, Volbeat, which I'll be very excited to see what they can put out again. Another Sleep Token record, which is awesome. Def Leppard with new music. I'll be definitely checking it out because just curious. Okay. Super excited to have Gojira put out a new record. Bullet for My Valentine, 3 Days Grace, Slipknot. I don't know if they're saying they're predicting new music or that one from 2010 that never saw the light of day, which I'm really curious about that because they said it's experimental. So, and only about 3 or 4 of them worked on it.
Yeah. Either way, that's win-win. Whatever we get. Yeah.
So lots of good stuff coming. Can't wait to tackle that. And then I think our good buddy Michael, who posted about New Orleans today, is working on a big video they shot on location. I think he mentioned Al Jorgensen's involved again.
No way, really?
I think he mentioned the little teaser was Al. So I'm assuming since they've worked with him before that it's going to be Al Jorgensen.
Okay. And, is it a Beauty and Chaos project?
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I think it's I don't know if it's a previous song they had, a new video, but he said they're editing it right now. They shot on location. They had people come out as part of to be part of the crowd or the group. So I'm kind of excited to see what he does. Yeah. And Whitney Ty, another friend of the show, she just released a new single. She's outdoors. Somebody's playing guitar and she's singing. It is beautiful. So
nice.
Probably share that later too.
yeah, so we should probably mention people to go check them out.
Absolutely.
Especially if you've made it this far. Beauty and Chaos. I don't think we mentioned the name until now, so we mentioned Michael, but you should go check out Beauty and Chaos for sure.
Absolutely, great people, and they sound great, especially if you like 80s post-punk type of sound. You are going to be absolutely in love. Speaking of, Tony, I'm going to share this with you because this is very exciting. So I went to Lunar Records in Broad Ripple and picked up this. Can you see that?
I've had my notes up on my screen, so let me see. Oh, nice. Okay, yeah.
Yep, Joy Division's second record. I picked up the first one.
Nice.
And this one that has all those beautiful live still.
Yes.
Got all those live songs on there. So I've been digging into that. At some point this year, I want to do a show on Joy Division and Ian Curtis.
I'd love to. I think we talked about that actually on the way to the Sleep Token concert. We were talking about you digging into them. And I used to listen to them all the time in college when I'd walk to go paint. I'd be listening to Joy Division. So
I listened to them a lot. And then before I dug in, I could only really think of 3 songs that would always come back in my head. Yeah. But when you dig in, there's so many good songs and you can just see their influence on everybody who came after. So pretty excited about it.
Let's definitely do a show on that. I would love that.
All right. Sounds good. So I think that does it. Any last comments about the battle?
No, it was a fun thing. Thank you for getting that ball rolling.
Awesome. I'm glad we did. I'm glad that the fan group was so involved and they were in it to win it. And I appreciate everybody who did participate. It was a lot of fun. So can't 100%. Wait to do another one with Tool, I think is our next one. So
let's do it.
Stay tuned for that. All right. Until hopefully a week or 2 from now, we'll be digging into a new record. And until then, we'll see you. Bye now.